So I went through my archives again this morning in hopes of finding, I don't know, something else, something more. There are pictures of areas that I had previously discussed that I thought no pictures of existed. This would be the hallway on the right when you come into the side door entrance. This hallway goes to your right. And my dad's office was down this hallway. This is the hallway that the bathrooms were on. And so that's the hallway right there. I did not know I had a photo of this. And as you can see, right, the floor looks all kind of fucked up. Why does it look like that? Well, it had previously been carpeted with this ugly, no shade, brown, like tan, spotty carpet. Like, it was the kind of carpet that I think is supposed to disguise stains, basically. And I don't know when they would have carpeted this. It would have had to have been after it was a hospital, because this is tile right here. It's just got a ton of glue on top of it, and that's why it looks fucked up like that. He never got around to buffing this hallway, but he did buff the main hallway and the other hallway on the other side. He did not buff this hallway, and I don't think he buffed the back hallway floor either. My dad. I don't know if I clarified I was talking about him or not. Let me show you this picture of me as a baby. So there's a picture of me as a baby. They say that I did not look happy in this photo because I thought I was going to the doctor. That's their reason. And this photo right here does not exist anymore because it burned. But I do have a picture of it because I took a picture of it hanging on the wall. Okay. So this is the door to the front office. That's across from the kitchen in the main hallway. This is the door to the front office. This is where that little picture hung up of me. And this is the fireplace. This right here is where you go into the office, right? And this door right here is like a desk, like a little miniature like counter. It's like a counter, and this like swung open and shut, like you could swing it open and shut. And then go into the office, and I have a picture of the office. This is the front office. That is the archway doorway. That curtain hung there the whole entire time. Okay. That's where my brother's girlfriend said she saw the woman. Okay. This right here, these are like little things that I made in kindergarten. Okay, hanging on the wall. This was where the Polaroid picture was taken. I was right here, and up on the wall beside me was the snowflake lightning strike artifact in that Polaroid. Right here was the front entrance, like desk check-in counter. So this is the archway doorway, and beyond that is my parents' bedroom. The old bedroom, the first bedroom that they ever like used in here. Yeah, so you can see the carpet that I was talking about. That's what all the carpet in the whole place looked like. There was no tile floors until my dad ripped the carpet up and buffed out the glue off of the floors. These pipes, dude, I loved these pipes so much, dude. Like in the front room, there was these big fat pipes, dude. I used to like dangle off of them like a freaking monkey. Like, I had so much fun doing that shit. Speaking of the front room, the living room, here is another photo of it. Okay. And you can see the pipes going around and stuff in that like little chandelier thing. That's the front room. So this was the kitchen with all the white cabinets, the tile floor, and this mirror right here. When I was home alone, dude, which was a lot, thank God, because I had a blast, dude, I would crank my stereo up in my bedroom, okay, and I would just like run around the halls and dance and skip around and talk to myself. Like, I talked to myself, like, straight up, like, and I would goof off in this freaking mirror, dude. I would make stupid faces and shit until I was rolling laughing, dude, and had such a good fucking time. And it was never in a time like that when you would see a ghost or something, because I think they were being entertained by me at that time, because I was doing some crazy shit, dude, by myself. And I just remember hanging out in here, you know, and you would feel like you were not alone. Like, you felt like you weren't alone all over this place, but you'd feel like you weren't alone, but no weird shit would really go down when you were having like a fucking blast, dude. And I used to watch, there was like a TV up on the refrigerator. It was a small TV, but it was a TV, and I would be there alone as a teenager. I'd brew a pot of coffee, dude, and and I would watch MASH. MASH was another one of my favorite shows, and in my bedroom photos, I can probably show you my MASH collection. It's just interesting when you look at the cabinets and stuff like this. I can remember how the handles felt, you know what I mean? Like, I can remember how the metal felt. I can remember what it sounded when these cabinet doors closed, you know what I'm saying? And I have a few other like points to touch on when it comes to just remembering stuff like that. This room right here was across from my dad's office, and as you can see, there's like a tanning bed photo promo thing on the wall. That's because we used to have a tanning bed right here. This was just one of the tanning bed rooms, and this room had the newest tanning bed in it. So that was like the one everybody wanted, but we had like a ton of like old 80s tanning beds in all the other rooms. So this is in that photo that where after the house is burned down and the rubble and everything, and I showed you that weird like pink like window and then like the pink wall with the window on it. And then, dude, like down the way, there was supposed to be another window, but I said that I didn't even know where the fuck that window was. Well, this is number 6. Okay, this room right here is on the edge of the house. Like, if you're looking at it from the front, this is on the last room on the left. Okay, and this is over by the door that leads into the middle part and stuff like that, the crossroads room door. And as you can see, there's like not a window. So I think that they covered up the window with this wall, and there's a shower right there because they were going to make this a shower room, but that never happened. But that's number 6. I just opened the door and took a picture. You can see the flash on the wall. I didn't even turn the light on. When I saw this picture, man, I probably cried a little bit on this one too, because our washing machine room, where the washer and the dryer was, our laundry room, it was black. Like the walls were black with like the middle seams were like white. And my parents told me that it was black because it used to be like the x-ray room, apparently, that they took x-rays in here, and that's why the walls were black. And so, and here it is. This is the laundry room with the black walls. I actually got a photo. Things that I never ever thought I would ever see again, dude. And these freaking front top load, freaking old ass, freaking base level washing machines and dryers are the best shit ever, dude. I have had so many like smart washers and dryers. It just they're absolute effing garbage, dude. Get you the base model, cheapest shit there is that will last like 20 years. This is the main stairway, and these metal hardcore like railing, and the color of the steps, dude, was like brown and tan and like dark brown, and then this was black right here, and that's approaching the top of the stairs right there. And then, dude, this random ass picture right here is in the apartment where I wanted to live, and you can see more of what the floor looked like, that sort of orange, brown, tan, like tile. Looking gorgeous, dude. So 70s, or I don't know actually, but this is an ancient ketchup bottle, dude. I was like always mesmerized as hell by this ketchup bottle, dude. This ketchup bottle was so effing old, okay? And I don't think I ever picked it up and looked at it and tried to figure out how old it was, but I can only tell you that the contents of this bottle were the darkest, like, brown sludge, okay? This is like an ancient, petrified ketchup bottle. I just thought that was funny. Like I said, my dad used to like wall off hallways and then cut doorways in rooms and make connections where there weren't before. He'd make, you know, he'd make it the way that he thought it would be improved and be better, okay? And so upstairs, I did live upstairs for a while in a room that became the closet, basically. But I lived in that room upstairs for like a hot minute. Let me see if I can show you like whereabouts this room that I lived in upstairs would have been. Okay, so this room that I lived in upstairs was right here. That's the window to it right there. I don't know if he made this fucking room in general, or that this room was a closet and he cut out a section of the wall. This little tiny room that was off the side of their bedroom that led into this closet room that had once had a doorway in it, but my dad changed that doorway and just into shelving. And originally it's like that doorway, I don't even know where it led to. It led to maybe either in the apartment I wanted to live in or something. Anyways, man, I was thinking about this last night in bed, and so that's why it's so very weird to have found this photo, dude. So this was that tiny little room, and this is that huge fucking thick wall doorway that I don't know was there before or not. I don't know if he cut through that or what, dude, to make this little tiny room that you went into the closet room from. But I remembered last night laying in bed, this whole ornate thing that was hanging on the wall was really, really beautiful. And I was remembering that last night, and that's why it's so wild to find this picture. But when you went in through this way, this was that bedroom right there that I lived in. So that's that window I showed you. And then like over here is the entrance to the room. When I found this picture, I had to like think for a minute, like, what the fuck room is that? You know, like I had to think for a minute, dude. And I was like, oh, that's the bedroom I used to sleep in upstairs. Man, that was a bitchin' bedroom, by the way. It was a large ass room. Okay, the first thing I want to discuss is the parallels between this, my bedroom when I was like 17, and my life today. What do you see right here? It's a futon. It's a futon. What's on top of it? Multiple mattresses. What do I sleep on today? A futon with multiple mattresses on it. Now, is it simply that it just takes, you know, many mattresses for a futon to actually be comfortable? The reason that I have a futon in this picture is because it was a fairly inexpensive bed, you know. And I guess the reason that I have one now is because it's a fairly inexpensive bed. But we actually got the one that I have now from that same friend of my dad's that I was telling you about, who used to say this place was haunted, basically. So it's just weird, like all these fucking parallels, man. And like the multiple mattresses on the futon, same thing I sleep on now. And this shit was not on purpose, dude. One of the weirdest things that has ever happened to me in my entire life that I still don't have an explanation for. Okay? So, this is my bedroom. This is my desk. This is my pink cup. I drank out of this cup for years. It was my cup. You know how it is when you have your, you know, your favorite drinking glass or whatever. I can't believe I have a picture of this. This is crazy to me, dude. Crazy to me. Here's another photo of the desk. Okay, and my closet's beyond that, and this huge ass orb, this sticky thick orb, and a couple of smaller ones. We're not going to talk about that right now. So these closets, another point I wanted to mention with the correlations between, the similarities between, the parallels between my life today and my life now. You know, this room actually doesn't have a lot of clutter in it. Well, that's because there were so many fucking closets. Okay, lots of closets. It was all in there. And I was thinking, did I ever have a closet that was just full of black trash bags, full of shit? Right? My clothes and all this kind of other stuff that won't fit anywhere else, right? Did I have a closet in there that was full of stuff in black trash bags, just like I do today? I fucking did. Okay? It was further on down, so it's not in this picture, okay? But I remember these closet doors had these like big disc doorknobs, dude, and they had a magnetic closure, okay? And you would feel the magnetic closure like click whenever you close the closet doors. It was amazing. And also on the shelves of these closets, there were these black and white plastic labels, like file cabinet labels. And these were from way back in the day. And they were like yellowed and super old looking. Wish I had a picture of those. But they were on the closet shelves, and it was just like different like medical devices and medical stuff that was labeled to like be sitting on those shelves and stuff. So anyways, just thought that was interesting. But yeah, I remember the magnetic closure of this door. It was actually a door further down here that this was in. And there was a bunch of stuff stuffed into that closet, okay? And I remember pushing the door, the magnetic click, and the tension of the door pushing on whatever the hell kind of mound of shit I had in the closet. And the magnetic closure clicking and me thinking, wow, this magnetic closure is strong. Like, this is amazing. Like, this closet is so strong. You know what I mean? Holding all my crap in there, dude. Like, same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Okay. Fun fact, this picture right here, I ain't going to explain what this is. It's a pinup printout. It's a printout of a pinup drawing from, like, the 50s. But anyways. This is still around. It's water damaged, okay? After this place burnt, my dad and his friend went into this room, okay? and they grabbed this picture off the wall. It's still around. It's hanging in this house. Has water damage to it. But they grabbed that picture. Because these people know me and they know me well. That's why. Anyway. So yeah. My pink cup. My desk, my keyboard. You know. One evening, okay, it's like 2007. Mom had brought us home Taco Bell. So I'm sitting at my desk, eating my Taco Bell, and we didn't get drinks with our food. Okay, so I had to use my pink cup full of whatever, water or tea or whatever the hell I was drinking, but I was drinking out of this pink cup, okay. I'm sitting at my desk. And I don't know if I was eating at the time, if I had like food in my hand. I don't know if I was chewing a bite I had taken. I don't know if I was typing something on the internet. Not really sure. Okay. But I know that I wasn't touching this cup. Okay. So I was sitting there. Maybe I was typing. I don't know. But out of the corner of my eye, okay, the cup would have been sitting closer to the, like, over here. Out of the corner of my eye, I see this pink cup lift up a few inches off the table, and it sits back down. And the sound of it sitting back down on the table rings throughout the wood of this desk, throughout the keyboard. It made a distinctive sound when you set this cup back down, rang throughout the table, rang throughout the keyboard. I see that out of the corner of my eye, lift up and sit back down. I turn and I look at it and I think to myself, first of all, I imagine, right? Did a ghost just do that? And I think to myself, that scenario, right? But then I'm like, okay, no, let's figure out some other explanation. So I'm like thinking this at warp speed right after this happens, and I turn and I look at the cup. Like, what the fuck, dude? I turn and I look at it and I'm trying to think of an explanation. Okay. And the best thing that I could come up with sitting there at 17 years old, okay, was that I was just now hearing the sound of the cup sit back down from the last time I had taken a drink out of it. Maybe a minute ago or longer, 45 seconds ago, whatever, right? That's the best I could come up with. And that was not good enough. I got up and I got the fuck out of that room. Okay. I go into my dad's office where my parents are probably still eating their Taco Bell, and I tell them what happened. And I'm like spooked, right? And I don't know exactly how long went by. Okay. But I remember thinking to myself, there's Taco Bell in there. You know, there's Taco Bell in there. And I understand some unexplained physical movement phenomena just went down, but there's Taco Bell in there, and it is my bedroom. I'm going to have to go back in there at some point. So I remember going back into the room, approaching the area, right? I'm just looking and just thinking, like, what the fuck? And everything was the way I left it, you know? So I just go back in there, and I remember just, like, looking at the desk, approaching it, being spooked. Okay, being spooked. And I don't remember anything else that happened that night or how I felt going along my business, but I'm sure I fell back into the groove pretty quickly, you know, and shit, like crazy shit like that had happened throughout my time living in this place. But I will say this, you know, there may be evidence that an object has moved. There's a whole lot of that in the history of this place, okay? The object ain't where you put it, and it clearly moved at some point, but you don't know when, right? Yeah, well, I saw it move. Usually you don't see it move by itself. Explanations? Okay, so throughout the years, okay, I have experienced phenomena that I call time slippage, where it's like some people think that this is being abducted by aliens and shit like that, dude. I don't know if I don't know what the fuck time slippage is, but I have had a few examples of it. Time slippage or matrix slippage, where the actual matrix itself, like you like you hit a point and then it loops around and replays or something. Like, I'll have to explain those experiences later on down the line, dude, and try to explain that. But what I'm saying is, time slippage is like the only friggin' explanation that I can come up with about how that cup picked up and sat down by its damn self. Okay? So basically what that means is if time slippage is the explanation for this phenomenon happening, then what that means is that time backed up to a point where I was completing the motion of having lifted the cup to my mouth and set it back down on the table. And apparently time slipped just to the point of where I was almost finished with that motion, right? Where the cup was only a few inches off the surface of the table, and then it sat back down. And that was the completed motion, right? Because time didn't slip to the point where the glass came over to my face for me to take a drink. That's not where time slipped to. And apparently in this instance of time slippage, the only thing that was affected was the cup. Apparently this cup right here was the only thing affected, was the only thing moving in this instance of time or matrix slippage. It's the only explanation I can come up with. I feel like that's probably not what it was. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I feel like that's probably not what it was. I feel like that's not that plausible in this instance, in this scenario. I feel like it just ain't that fucking plausible for that to have been what that was. Okay. Now, if you look at it from the standpoint of it was a ghost who moved that cup. Okay, well, honestly, that's a little bit more plausible in my opinion than a damn time slippage or something like that. I mean, because I've never had another thing like that happen anywhere else that I've ever lived and all this kind of shit. You know, that's never happened again. I've had instances of time slippage and matrix slippage that can be instances of shit that happen that can't be explained any other way. Okay, but this could be explained some other way, maybe. I don't know. I guess that's up to you to decide. For me, though, okay, so say we're going to go with the explanation of it being a ghost. A ghost moved my cup right in fucking front of me. Out of the corner of my eye, see this cup lift up and sit down. A ghost did that. Oh, and also I remember trying to think of an explanation before I got up and bolted out of there. It was a really fast process. It didn't take me very long, okay? But I did pick the cup up and feel underneath of it to see if it was wet underneath of it, like if water had pooled underneath of it because I had ice in it or a cold drink, and if there was water under there that could have made the cup like slide or something, which sliding is not picking up and setting back down, but I was just trying to think of an explanation, right? And I remember I lifted it up and fell underneath, and there was no moisture at all under there. At all, nothing. Okay, so it was dry, and so anyway, then I got up and fucking bolted. So, say it was a ghost. Here's the problem with that. I didn't see no ghost. Wasn't no ghost there. Wasn't no ghost there. There was no ghost. I didn't see a ghost. So if we're going to attribute this supernatural phenomena to a ghost, well, then why are we doing that? Because I didn't see a ghost. I didn't see a ghost. It was just the cup that lifted up and sat back down, dude, by itself. I didn't see a ghost. Maybe you could say an entity did that. Are we drawing a distinction between ghosts and entities? You know, can ghosts move things? In my experience, me personally, I have never seen a ghost move something. Now, like I told you guys, that guy told me that instance that he had in his house where the ghost lady was holding a physical necklace. So this is why it's so important for other people to tell all of their experiences with this type of stuff so that we can determine and figure out, are ghosts capable of moving things? But from my experience and what I know, I can't say that, yeah, I think ghosts can move objects. Like, I can't say that because it wouldn't be the truth of what I've experienced if I've never seen a ghost move an object, okay? Plenty of objects have been moving and stuff, but I, in my childhood home, but I never saw a ghost doing that. You know what I'm saying? The closest I can get to saying that a ghost may be able to like move stuff is that door that was in the crossroads room that led into the apartment, the one that used to open and close by itself all the time. Like, that door would open and close by itself, and I never saw a ghost, but in my mind's eye, dude, and you gotta bear in mind, I was like 4 or something, dude. I do remember, man, in my mind's eye, I would see this man, dressed like gothy almost, dude. This guy had like long blonde hair, like not long, but it was like shoulder length, super greasy, dude, which, I mean, same, honestly. But, you know, anyways, this is what he looked like in my mind's eye. I didn't see him, as far as I know, dude. I just remember seeing him in my mind's eye, like, several fucking times. And he was beyond that door and standing in the crossroads room. And he was like, I don't know who he was or what time period he could have been from, dude, but because he was wearing, like some, like, trench coat, like some black like trench coat shit, dude, and he had like super greasy like shoulder length blonde hair. It was giving early 90s grunge, to be honest with you, and this would have been probably like 93 or 4 or something like that, dude. But I just remember like seeing this guy in my mind's eye, okay, and that's where the door used to open and close all the time by itself. And I got it into my head when I was a little bitty kid that whoever I was seeing in my mind's eye, this guy was the one that was opening and closing the door. But I mean, is that really possible? Because like I said, there was nothing that he was wearing that was like definitely not from back in the day, but it was just like, you know, I don't think that anybody was really going around having that kind of style back in the day of like some long dark coat and like and long like hair, you know what I mean? Like that, a dude wasn't going around looking like that back in the day. So I really don't know what the explanation of seeing that in my mind's eye was. I've seen several ghosts in my mind's eye, and I've seen several ghosts physically, okay? So, so those mind's eye ghosts, because you don't actually see them, you know what I mean? I think they're important to note sometimes, abso-fucking-lutely, but I don't think they're like, it's important to note those, but, you know, I think we should stick to calling ghosts like what we actually see and shit. So that's my point, dude. Are we saying ghosts can move things around? Because I'm like under the impression that that's entity territory. Like, why am I so adamant? Because, okay, at the time that this experience happened, of course, I thought about that it could have been a ghost. That was like my first immediate thought. And then I went down the alleyway of like, okay, let's explain this some other way, right? But my instant thought was a ghost just picked my fucking shit up and set it back down. That was my instant thought, okay? And why would I be so adamant in trying to find other explanations and trying to say that ghosts can't move things around when I know there were ghosts there? Like actual ghosts that you saw. Like I know there were ghosts there. In that freaking room even. You know, there was like ghost sightings in that room, dude. Like, you know, why am I trying to explain this some other way? You might be asking yourself that. Well, it's just because I feel like we should try to explain this and try to debunk it if we can. And if we can't debunk it, well, then it is what it is, isn't it? You know what I mean? So that's my question here is like, can ghosts move things, right? Or is that entity territory? Are ghosts and entities the same thing? You know what I mean? Like, what is this phenomena? What is this? Okay. What is this? Right? I hesitate to call that a ghost. I hesitate to do that, you know? What would you think? The orbs in the picture. I still have to get around to explaining the whole orb photo shoot thing. And, like, I don't even think this was an orb photo shoot. Literally, I was just taking pictures of my room, which I'm so glad I did. You're sitting here, you're eating your Taco Bell. And you see this cup lift up out of the corner of your eye and sit back down on the desk. And you hear it ring throughout the wood of the table and throughout the keyboard, the plastic of the keyboard. You hear that unmistakable sound that occurs every single time you set that cup down on that table. You hear it, you see it, you hear it. What would you think? What would be your immediate assumption? So what do you think? I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm going to leave that one up to you. And I wanted to go ahead and just mention a couple of random, like, odd things, okay? I even saw an electrical ball of light looking orb in my bedroom a couple times with my own 2 eyes, and, like, I saw this shit, dude. Like, dude, so let me find a picture of the bedroom so that I can kind of explain to you where this was, okay? So here we are. This is the bathroom door, right? I would see this pulse of like an electrical fucking like orb of light, dude. It looked like a freaking plasma ball of light orb up in this corner. That's where it would be. I saw it a couple times. And one night, I think I saw it when I was like laying there with my nightlight on and stuff like that. You know, there was nothing going on. Okay, like there was nothing to explain why a glowing electrical looking ball, okay, would be floating by up here. I would just see it. I would see it for a second, going this way. I saw that a couple times. My own two freaking eyes, dude. Oh yeah, and in my notes it says, how is a ghost going to interact with an object that wasn't even on their timeline, okay? If ghosts are a stain on the fabric of space-time, like I believe apparitions are absolutely a stain on the fabric of space-time, no freaking doubt. Let's say a ghost is a stain on the fabric of space-time that has more capabilities, you know, than an apparition does. It's like, but say they're just a stain on the fabric of space-time. They can't interact with your, like, with you, you know what I mean, on your timeline and stuff. Like, tell me how the hell is a stain on the fabric of space-time going to be moving an object that didn't even exist when they were there and the haunting took place, right? How are they going to move that object? Are there ghosts that are a mixture of an entity and ghost? Shit, maybe. I don't know. This is why we need to talk about all this. We need to have a discussion about it. We need to come to some conclusions in a serious way. Drop the heebie-jeebie shit. Drop the creepy shit. Drop all of that preconceived fear crap. Drop all that shit. We need to talk about this. Seriously. Figure this out. Figure out this force of nature or something. Whatever it is. And a few last random points. Like, you know, a lot of psychic phenomena revolved around this place and occurred. And I experienced a lot of psychic phenomena. And one of the things that I think is the most like... Well, okay, so... There were a few times when I was a teenager that I either had a dream that somebody was going to die, and usually it was somebody I didn't know, that I found out about it later after they died, and I was like, oh my God, like, that's who I dreamed about. And I'm not going to give details, man, for one of these instances, because it's very, very, very sad, and it was not somebody that I knew, and it was one of the weirdest dreams and occurrences of this me dreaming about somebody and then they die thing that has ever happened to me. And it was a lot, dude. And I'm not gonna talk about that, man, because it just really doesn't have any relevance outside of that. I experienced a lot of these things when I did live in this building. Okay, so yeah, I would have a dream that someone was gonna die and then they died, dude. What I can tell you is back in like 2006 roughly, okay, MySpace era, I was friends with one of my cousins. She's a distant cousin on MySpace. And I don't know if this dude was in her top 8, you know, like it was, that was how it was back then. You had like a top 8 friends, right? You could just make it whoever you wanted and your top 8 friends were on your page. And I don't know if he was in her top 8 or something. I don't know how I ran across his profile, okay? This was on MySpace, dude, and I ran across his profile. It was just a friend of hers that she didn't live near me. She lived in another state, but this was a friend of hers. You know, we were all like, you know, teenagers and stuff, and he was about to be 18 actually. And so I came across his profile and I looked at his profile picture and I thought to myself, he's gonna die. He's gonna die. And dude, it was probably a few weeks later, you know, not much longer than that, maybe less, that I get on MySpace one day and my cousin is going, you know, off the deep end basically, because he did die. And I still don't know exactly how he died, but I do know that he did die. And I was really affected by that because most of the time when I would have these like psychic like visions or inclinations and that I would have these dreams, especially the dreams, I didn't know who it was that I was dreaming about and only found out later, you know. But and this was an instance where I saw this dude's picture and I was like, he's gonna die. And I you know, you always think to yourself, like, could I have, like, prevented these things? You know, if I had made contact and been like, but think about it. Like, say you're some kid on MySpace back in the day, you know, and some random bitch contacts you and it's like, hey, I think you're going to die. It's like, awkward. And, like, what if you're wrong? And just, like, there's all of this shit, okay? But sometimes you do think to yourself and you do wonder, like, could I have prevented that if I'd said something? But you know what I mean? I like it's a really tough one, and I don't like that shit. I don't like knowing that somebody's gonna die and then they do die. I don't like that shit. I don't like dreaming that somebody's gonna die and then they die. Okay, in the exact scenario that I dreamed about. You know, I don't like that. But that's happened to me several times in life. Okay, and I just wanted to mention that because that type of phenomena was very, very common for me to experience when I lived in this building, and it was strong. Very, very strong, okay, when I lived in this building. And similar things have happened to me since in life, but they're not, like, these things are just, like, not as strong. It doesn't seem like, you know, they still happen to me, but it's, like, not as frequent, and it's not as strong, dude. This place was like a freaking power source or something, okay? So I have more things to show you and cover about this, but we are approaching a late stage of the era. Okay, we are approaching me being 17, 18, and eventually moving out of this place. And so I'll be covering all of that. A few more things about this, and then covering having moved out and everything like that. But when I was 22, this building burned and then was torn down. So that's how old I was when this building burned in 2012. I was 22, and to that point and beyond, right, I still have experiences of a paranormal, supernatural, psychic nature to share with you. So there's still a bit to go, but we are progressed quite a ways along now, and we're still at the beginning of this journey. But me really trying to show you and explain to you and set the scene about all of this for you has progressed quite excellently. And it's only by the grace of God, and it is only to God's praise and glory that I have been able to sit here, that I've been able to live this long, that I've been able to dick around and waste fucking time, okay, which I think everything happens for a reason, and the things that I was wasting time on for the last, 13 years when I was supposed to be doing this, I'm sure that there's a reason for that, and I'm sure that's how God did want it, okay? But it's only by the grace of God that I have been able to sit here to share this with you, to share, this isn't my life story. That's not about me, in my opinion. I am in it, but to me, it's about the building. It's about the building's history. It's about the people who worked there. It's about the people who spent their lives there. It's about the people who lived and died there. It is about the people who were born there and died there. It is about the history of any building like this one. It is about the preservation of history, okay? That's what this is about. It is about the people who were involved. Their lives mattered. These people were our ancestors. These people were the people who came before us, lived whole ass lives, had families that we came from, okay? It matters what happened in the past. And it matters that that information is saved and stored, and that anybody that has information about any of this stuff, okay, be it the paranormal, psychic, supernatural experiences, people who knew things about these old buildings that either stand or no longer stand, doesn't matter. Like, we need to share all of this information, all these experiences, and let everybody know, okay, what has gone down in this world, in our hometowns, before we got there, okay, so that we can have a comprehensive picture of who the hell we are as a humanity that is wanting to go up into space, when we haven't even studied the depths of our own oceans. We don't even have a good grasp on the history of our hometowns. The buildings that used to stand there still stand there. God willing, We need to do our due diligence to this, all of this, as a society, as a humanity. And I believe that we have just enough time to do so.